Alright, ladies and gentlemen, Baron here. So we're going to be going over the new premium tank, the Fury, which is obviously based off the movie, The Fury. It's not even called The Fury, it's just Fury. But this is an M4A3E8, Easy 8 Sherman tank. And I know what you're thinking. These logs, are they added spaced armor? No, they're not. But you can kind of see how the hanger has been changed, hanger, garage, what have you. And you got some Easy 8s patrolling in the background. Unfortunately, what we don't see is a tiger coming out to meet them. But there's this cool little Easter egg. Best job I ever had. The movie was great. We'll talk about that near the end, because why you're here is this tank worth it? Should you get it? What are the pros? What are the cons? That's all the stuff we're going to cover in the review, and we're also going to see some gameplay. So basically, when comparing the M4A3E8 to the Fury, there's a few differences. The first of which is, as you can see over here, the crew comes maxed out. I've already played, I think it's like 57, 58 games. I've got some fun crew skills, and I just kind of went derp and picked skills that I thought would be funny to fit the characters how they were in the movie. Because you've got Sergeant Don War Daddy Collier, Sergeant Boyd Swan, Garcia, Ellison, Travis. You got everybody that was the character in the game. So that is one of the differences between this and the Easy 8 that is stock. Obviously, it's a premium, so you get a lot better benefits to experience and credits naturally. That's what comes inherent to premium tanks. But there are some significant differences. I find them significant anyway, that I wanted to cover. They have the same hit points at 750 hit points. They have the same damage per minute at about 2091. But there's a difference in max speed. The Fury has a less of a max speed. It maxes out at 41.8 versus the Easy 8's 48. That's a 13% difference in max speed. And for a tank that is labeled as a spanker and flanker, how are you really going to be as effective at flanking when you have a 13% difference in max speed? Think about it this way. If someone was to go, hey, I can offer you stock A that has a 10%, basically return, versus this one, which has a 23% difference in return. Which one are you going to pick? Like 13% is a considerable amount of difference. So they're like, oh, it's a small, decrease in speed. That kind of sucks, especially for this tank, because it is very weak, even for a medium tank. I mean, it is a Sherman after all. So there's the max speed difference. And then there's the traverse rate. The Fury has a much better traverse rate, 44 versus 40 in the stock Easy 8, obviously after you get all the good components into it. And what's really interesting, and I think it's more of a, kind of a foresight as what's to come, is that the Fury's gun mantlet is weaker than the Easy 8's. And that's actually because the Fury is an HD tank. It's high definition, so it's modeled a little differently. So I think once the Easy 8 is, gets its HD, it will be like that in the future. And then here's another thing, which I think kinda sucks, is that the Fury has a 2-degree less gun depression than the normal Easy 8. Not really sure why that is, but that kind of sucks because the tank is so soft that you kind of have to rely in most cases on either outmaneuvering them, but you have the less, the decrease in speed, so it makes that more difficult, or staying hull down. And the gun depression, the difference of 2 degrees it has an effect on your ability to find yourself in positions where you can stay hull down and hit targets without exposing yourself. So there's that, the 2-degree decrease in gun depression on the Fury tank. Now there's some cool superficial changes. Obviously this one looks just like the one in the movie. It's got the 30 cal and the 50 cal on the top. It's got Fury written on the barrel, the 76mm barrel. And it's got some logs and stuff on the side, which you're thinking, oh, you know, Baron, will that protect me from heat rounds? Will it add extra little armor? No, it's just superficial, unfortunately. It would have been great if those logs would have been able to have that effect on it. So basically, it's a premium tier 6 of a medium tank, but it's nerfed a bit. I would say the changes are more adverse than positive as far as like the statistics inherent to the tank. You know, yeah, it's got better traverse rate, but I would personally, but this is personal preference, I would take the greater max speed and the greater gun depression. But obviously it's a premium tank, so you get that increase to credits and experience, which by the way are pretty awesome, especially if you want to chug your way down the American medium tank line, because it's great for that. I feel like on average, even in bad games, you're hitting what, like 20,000 silver coins, getting that cheddar right there. I mean, it's pretty good. And then when you have good games, you can get up to what, like 40, 50k? Pretty good. So let's talk about the price. Is it worth it? And I have a few suggestions to make this tank a little more worth it, or maybe, you know, more purchased within the game. But to be perfectly honest, I don't think I've been in my 57 games in this tank. I know that's not a lot, but I'd say within the last day and a half, it's a considerable amount for myself. And I have not been in too many games where there isn't another Fury. Usually there's one on the other team. Oftentimes, you know, there's 2 on one team and 1 on the other kind of thing. I've even been in a game where it was 3 Furies on my team and 3 Furies on the other team. So it is a seemingly prevalent tank right now. Obviously, there's a lot of hype around the movie, and for me, the reason I bought it was because I wanted a Sherman premium tank. Like, I don't have any Sherman tanks. I like the Easy 8, you know, for its historical value. I was a big fan of the movie, and, you know, I thought it'd be fun to have a nice tier 6 American premium, so this was the choice. But it's priced, there's 2 packages you can get, the first of which is $30. And you're like, hey, is this tank worth $30? Well, you have to kind of go into a little more detail. The tank itself comes with $2,600 of gold, a crew slot, or a garage slot rather, and a fully upgraded crew. So all that considered, you're basically paying for $15 in gold, and then the premium tank, the fully trained crew, and the garage slot. So it's kind of like $15 for that, which seems to be well worth it, you know, for a tier 6 premium tank. I would consider it that. But it's strange how you kind of have to buy the $30 pack. Not really sure what they're doing. I think it's kind of to limit so there's not Furies all over the place. That could affect matchmaking in a funny way. But the second package is a $99 package. But basically what you're doing with that package is you're buying the gold, you know, because that's $99 worth of gold. And then you're basically just getting the Fury, its crew, and the garage slot as like an added bonus. So if you're one of those big fish who just dumps money into the game and you're like, hey, I need to put $100 into this game for gold for, you know, whatever reasons, then it's definitely worth that. If you're gonna put $100 into the game anyway for gold, you basically get the tank on top of it. So let's talk about what it's good at. Now keep in mind, I have a decent win rate for someone who isn't a, you know, an expert veteran. I would consider myself a blue-collar tanker in this game, and I had a win rate for the longest time of around 60%. I'm just under that now. I think about like 59% in this tank. And for me, who's not a veteran tanker and never really played a medium tank, then I would consider that a win. You know, but people often say it's not the tank, it's the tanker. So, you know, think about that. If you're raging about this tank, you gotta check yourself before you wreck your tank. So keep that in mind. But what is it good at, right? Is it a flanker? Well, it's slower than the Easy 8, so I would kind of argue against that. Yes, it's still a flanker, but it's not as good as what you may be used to in an Easy 8. What about sniping? You know, it's got a 76mm gun. It's got a high rate of fire, so pretty good DPM. But it's got an accuracy of 0.4. This thing's kind of inaccurate, to be perfectly honest with you. So can you really use it as sniping? I don't know, man. I kind of argue against it. And then you think about it, it's a premium tank, right? What do you normally get with premium tanks? Premium matchmaking. You do not get premium matchmaking with this tank. You get battles, you'll find yourself in tier 8 battles, and those are not fun, especially with myself. I didn't load any APCR rounds in any of the battles that I fought. Now in hindsight, I'm going to start loading more APCRs because you will find yourself in tier 8 battles, and there are some stories out there where people, and I think they're obviously pretty good, and for matchmaking purposes, they get put in tier 8 battles all the time, but I found myself probably in a tier 8 battle 1 out of every 3 games. So it wasn't too bad, but it just kind of sucks when you're an Easy 8, which is a soft medium tank, you know, with a decreased speed and, you know, a lesser gun mantlet and lesser gun depression. So when you do find yourself in those sweet spots and you find yourself hull down, you're still getting your dick kicked in because your gun mantlet and your gun depression are less and you're in a tier 8 battle. So that kind of sucks. But what is it really good at? It's a premium tank. This thing pumps out cash. If you're looking for cash and you're going down American, you know, medium lines, this thing is great for that experience bonus, the free experience you get, and this thing can train crews like no other. It's pretty good for that. So it's great for training your American crews. So I have a couple suggestions as to what I think would be good. A lot of people are questioning, why can't I just buy the tank, the garage spot, and the crew? Like, why can't I just buy the $15 version and just, X out that gold that I basically have to purchase? That's one suggestion. Another suggestion I would make is kind of put in premium matchmaking. Yeah, it pumps out money, but even in tier 8s, if you play smart, you can pump out good money. So I don't really know if it would have an effect on that. It would be great if this thing would only see tier 7 maximum battles, but I'm a little biased. I bought the tank. I would love to see myself not in tier 8 battles, getting my dick kicked in. So that's a suggestion. Another suggestion, which probably isn't going to happen at all, is just to put the statistics like the Easy 8 everyone's used to. But I think this is a sign of things to come because this is an HD texture. They're kind of making things, they're getting closer, we'll say closer to historical accuracy with the modeling of tanks. So the whole gun mantlet issue is a matter of HD texture modeling. Oh, you know what? Anyway, that was ADD. So there's that, and the gun accuracy. Was this gun really that inaccurate? But then you think about it, maybe it's kind of a balancing thing because the fire rate on this thing, stock, even before you put the gun rammers and the crew boosts and all that kind of stuff into it, it's really fast. So it's got a pretty good DPM, and maybe if it was even more accurate, it would obviously be a little more overpowered per chance. But so my overall experience, tier 8 battles suck for a tier 6 medium tank, premium not. So you're gonna get into them whether you're in this tank or not a premium tank, but the difference is this one's premium, so it's gonna give you that cash. I'm not a medium tanker veteran at all. I never really picked up the art of it, but I've had a pretty positive experience in this tank so far. And it's all about, like, how are you going to approach the game? If you're going to approach the game as you would in a heavy tank, you're an idiot, quite frankly, because it's a soft tier 6 medium. So don't do that. You got to adjust your strategy. I think that's pretty safe to say. A lot of people out there, like, really amazing tankers with all their reviews, they come from that bias. Well, my bias is I'm a blue collar, a little above than average tanker. So basically, I play like 60% of the player base in this game, if you were to consider, you know, a statistical bell curve, right? I'm play like the majority chunk of you guys out there. So think of me as your blue collar tank advisor. But I have a 59% win rate in about 57 to 58 battles, and I'm having fun in this tank, and it's pretty cool. So now I'm gonna talk a little bit about the movie. But if you guys enjoyed this review, give this video a like and share it. You know what? Because that really helps me out and I really appreciate it. Also, let me know some other tanks that I should play, you know, if I'm a fan of the Easy 8, or what is, here's another question because I'm genuinely curious. What is your favorite medium tank in the game, and also your favorite medium American tank? Because that's what I'm going to be looking for. And I think I want to get more into the medium tank type battles, or, you know, rather medium tank kind of play style, because it's kind of a tank I think of like Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great found himself in the key moments in battles time and time again. That's why he was so successful. He would go there, put his influence on the battle, and turn the tide. I would like to think that I could do that in a medium tank. You're fast enough, you know, you're the jack of all trades, so you can kind of get in there and have an effect on the battle with your speed and with your gun. So that's kind of my thought. But the movie Fury, who's seen it and who loved it? Because I think a lot of us out there think of it as like the best World War II movie since Saving Private Ryan, which was a great movie. Now, I don't think Fury was based off of a historical story, and I thought it was great overall. I was a little disappointed for the tanks that we saw in the game. So if you're worried about spoilers, stop listening now. But if you're not, I'm going to continue. At the beginning of the movie, there were dead Panzer IVs and dead Panther tanks. You could kind of see their silhouettes at the very introduction of the movie, and I was excited. I was like, oh my gosh, that's a Panther tank right there. Maybe we're going to see some later, because this happens in, what, 1945 in World War II, so there are Panther tanks out there. And that thing was the real tank scare, I think, at that point in the war. Tiger tanks were great, but you know, by that time, we had learned their weaknesses, we had learned where to shoot, we had learned how to deal with them, and they were kind of slower, had mechanical issues and all kinds of stuff like that. But Panther tanks, man, those things were beasts. And honestly, Emma, what a babe. That was sad. But I thought the movie was great. Anyway, that's going to wrap us up here for the Fury. Let me know if you like this video, give it a like, and share with your friends. It really helps me out. It's like 2:30 a.m. right now. I've been playing this tank like non-stop for a couple hours now. Anyway, my name is Baron. I thank y'all for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.